What's up? I'm three-time Olympian and world champion speed skater Joey Mantilla here with another episode of Skate Tips, a series dedicated to teaching you how to skate faster, longer. Good skating starts from the ground up, so today we're going to tackle edge control, a very, very important aspect of speed skating that happens to have a lot of carryover into the other disciplines. So whether you're a spandex junkie or just looking to enhance your skating experience as an urban or recreational skater, I think you'll find some value in this video.
This tutorial will teach you 6 drills that you can add to your routine to increase your ability to control your edges. The first 3 can be done on any inline or ice skates, but the last 3 can only be done on wheels. The first set consists of 3 simple movements that are great for building ankle strength. This means they help develop the muscles in your feet and lower legs that control your edges and give you the coordination to do so as you please. In my opinion, you should add these to your warm-up every time you step on skates, starting with your boots tied and eventually being able to do them with your skates untied to maximize the effect. The first one is called a 2-foot edge flip. You go into a double foot squat in a base speed skating position. Gliding on both feet slightly closer together than shoulder width, distribute your weight evenly on both skates. When it comes to weight distribution front to back, either in the middle or on the heels is fine for this drill, just be sure to stay off your toes. Once you're down in position, use your ankles and knees to simultaneously flip your edges from side to side with as much range as possible. The idea is to challenge yourself on both the range and the frequency of the movement in order to put enough stress on the muscles so they know to grow back stronger. Do 2 sets of 10 repetitions with each flip of the edges being considered a single rep. Before we go on to the second drill, I want to remind everybody exactly what an edge is in skating. Basically, anytime your blade or your wheels are not completely perpendicular to the surface you're skating on, that would be considered an edge. If your skate is leaning towards your body, that's an inner edge or an inside edge, and if your skates are leaning away from your body, that's an outer or outside edge. The second drill is exactly the same as the first in concept, meaning you're trying to flip your edge as quickly as possible and as far as possible, but you're doing it on 1 foot instead of 2. Come down into a single leg squat. Think nose, knee, and toe as a guideline for starting off with your balance. From there, you're going to use your ankle and knee, the same principle as the first drill, to make a big edge flip left to right, and you're going to try to do it without putting your back foot on the ground at all. Although to start off, when you're first learning this drill, it's okay to put a kickstand down in the back, or training wheels as we like to call them. You can tap that back toe down every now and then, but the goal is to be able to control the edge flip without having to use that back leg at all. Now, if you're a speed skater, this is a great opportunity to really get down low and press the position. If you're an urban or recreational skater, you can come up to about a quarter squat. You don't have to get super deep. The idea is that you're just strengthening the ankle and trying to build up those muscles in the foot and the shin. You're going to do 2 sets of 6 repetitions on each leg. So think 6 on the left, then go 6 on your right, then go 6 on the left, and then 6 on the right, with each flip, so each edge change being considered 1 repetition. When doing this drill, you want to try to travel in as straight of a line as possible, because when you flip your edge, you want your shin and foot muscles to actually have to work a little bit to do that. If you sway left, right, or let your feet carve a bit more and relieve some of that pressure, you don't quite get all of the effect of the drill. The third drill is called an edge flip hold, and it builds on the principle of the previous, where you're still on 1 foot, you're still flipping your edge left-right to build your ankle strength. However, unlike the second where you're focused on frequency or making a faster movement, now you want to slow things down and control it. And that means holding an edge for at least 1 full second before flipping it to the opposite side. This drill is much more challenging than the previous 2, meaning you're going to be a lot more inclined to tap that back toe down on the ground for balance, but really fight the urge to do that, especially as you get into the 3rd and 4th weeks of doing this drill in your warm-up. Really challenge yourself to still control the edge, but not have to use that training wheel in the back. The key difference in how you execute this drill versus the previous is that now you're going to actually allow your body to travel laterally or side to side a little bit. Because when you hold an edge, especially for over a second, it's going to push your body one way or the other, and you have to allow that to happen if you want to execute a hold. And it's important to remember, especially when you're starting off learning these drills, that an edge doesn't have to be super aggressive. It doesn't have to be really, really deep. You can have a very subtle inner or a very subtle outer, and as long as your wheels are not completely perpendicular to the surface or straight up and down, then you're good. You're accomplishing the task of the drill. Ultimately, you just want to make sure that once you commit to an inner or an outer after the flip, that you don't go back to the other side until the full hold is completed. These next 3 exercises have notoriously been deemed the double push drills. Now, really think about what that says in the name. Double push, meaning as you're making a motion with your feet on the ground or your skates on the ground, you're actually creating forward momentum. You're feeling yourself accelerate. Most people, when they first start doing these drills, just make motions in a slalom manner, meaning they're just carving their skates to steer left, right, and get edges, but they're not actually accelerating every push. The basic principle of the first drill is to be able to push with both of your skates in the same direction at the same time with the same amount of pressure. meaning that you're not biasing one skate over the other when you actually go to make speed. You're trying to deliver force evenly into both sets of wheels. One of the focus points of this drill is to keep your skates together when you're making the pushes. So as you get to this point right here, keep them together, and as you get to this point right here, keep them together. You can see that my skates float apart a little bit, and at the ripe age of 38, the reality is I'm just not quite as good at this as I'd like to be, but the goal is to keep your skates as close together throughout the entirety of the motion as possible. When it comes to weight distribution for this drill, you want to try to stay center, meaning from left to right, you're right between both skates all the time, and from back to front or heel to toe, you're also trying to center your balance right over the middle of your skate. When you start doing this drill, you're going to heavily bias yourself towards your heels. It's normal. You're going to be wanting to sit back to carve and to steer, and the more comfortable you get with these motions, the more you should try to force yourself to find the middle of your skate. A couple tips to make this easier for you. One, think about your edges. They should both be leaning the same amount in the same direction at the same time. The more you can execute that, the easier this drill is going to be. And two, pay attention to your timing. Meaning you don't want to sit down into your skates and apply pressure until both of them have traveled past your center line as seen here. Once that happens, you can sit down and push, but if you try to apply that downward pressure before your skates have traveled past and you're getting to a position like this, you're going to get stuck and it's going to feel pretty awful. And one more thing to keep in mind as you're doing these drills is to remember that oftentimes with skating drills, you're compartmentalizing a part of the stroke, meaning you're working on a very specific thing. And as you can see here with these big kicking motions into the skates, that's not necessarily the way you want to do it when you're looking for a smooth double push. The next drill is a single leg double push with training wheels. As you can see here, you keep the same foot in front and you just alternate between your under push and traditional push and repeat that as you go. The key difference between the first three exercises of the video versus these last three is that now you have to consciously keep that ankle very strong. You want to think about keeping your wheels or your edge line as an extension of your lower leg, seen here. The better you can execute that, the more control you're going to have and the more speed you're going to create with every push. Now, it's easier to do this on an outer edge seen here versus the inner edge seen here. If you look closely, you can see there's a little bit of a fold in my skate. It could be a smidge better, but the idea is that you're trying to keep your wheels as much of an extension of your lower leg as possible. That's what's going to give you the most out of this drill. In the beginning, when learning this drill especially, you're going to have a hard time making speed with it. So my suggestion is that you find a very slight downhill and you work on these three double push drills going downhill first. So you get the aid of gravity pushing you along a little bit because you're not initially going to make a lot of speed for yourself. That's okay. You're just going to be moving your edges around. And once you get a little more bold in the movement, you're going to actually feel like you're comfortable enough to push. That's going to be the magic. From there, you're going to graduate to a flat surface. And once you've mastered being able to make speed on a flat surface with these movements, then you're going to go to a very slight uphill. And if you can make speed going uphill, doing these three motions of these three drills, then you have no problem understanding it and you're definitely getting the most out of each one. A couple things to call out that you may have already noticed on the side view is that as I do a traditional push here, that left knee does drive forward, so the recovery knee or back knee can drive up to meet up with the front knee to help create some momentum and flow to your stroke. And something else you may have noticed from the side view is how far forward and back my skate travels underneath my body. So as I kick right here, it's less, but as I kick on the under push, a pretty big motion forward. The ideal situation is that you don't have that much travel, because if you're staying balanced in one spot on your skate and you're really committing to it, the skate will not have that big of an action. The reality is my wheels are very trash from doing circles on asphalt and skating on them for a while, so they're pretty slick. So I have to kind of kick that foot as a result. And so if you're on a slippery surface, you're going to get much more of that action. If you're doing these indoor on a grippy track with good wheels, try to keep that skate from kicking so much forward and back. The ideal situation is that you're in control of it, you keep balanced over the middle, and you have a nice smooth flow to these motions. Now, as mentioned before, when you're doing drills like this, you are compartmentalizing, so there's going to be a little bit of that. I just want to make sure that you understand that having these big kicks and big pressure spikes down into your skate is not the ideal way to skate effectively. You want to try to keep things smooth and even. Now, when you're doing drills like this, there's no weight transfer. You're only working on one leg, so you're going to see a lot more abrupt motions and big aggressive movements as a result. That's normal, just don't try to bring those same feelings and motions into your normal skating unless you're working on heavy acceleration or sprint work. For this drill, you're going to do 2 times 10 reps each leg. So think 1, 2, 3, and all the way up to 10, then switch legs, and then repeat that whole cycle one more time. And last but not least, we have the single leg double push without training wheels. As you can see, the back foot never makes contact with the ground under any circumstances. You're using just the front foot to make all your leverage, all your speed, all your changes and edges come as a result of good strength, strong ankles, and being able to control your skate. Now, if you attempt this drill and nothing really happens, don't get discouraged, that's normal. Just try to find yourself a slight downhill like I mentioned before and work on just the motions first. Once you get the motions down and you're able to actually weave in and out on one skate, then you can progress to trying to kick a little bit, trying to put some sauce behind those pushes. And if you feel like you're comfortable there, then you can test it on a flat surface and see if you're actually making forward momentum with each push. To execute this drill, you're gonna come down in the same position as the previous drill where you have that training wheel, and then once you get comfortable, you're gonna just lift that back foot off the ground and try to keep it off the entire time, and try to still make sure that you're making forward momentum or accelerations with every push. One key thing to keep in mind as you're trying to make this drill work for you is that you have to be mindful of the amount of pressure you're putting down into your skate. As you go through the push here, and as you go through the push here, it's at the highest point. So you're squishing your wheels down into the surface as much as you can. And as you're letting that skate travel through the middle, you have to relieve some of that pressure so you can manipulate how that skate travels. Essentially, the longer and smoother you're able to apply pressure as you're trying to make a push, so through this motion here, and from here all the way to here, if you can maximize the time under load there and be in control of it, the more forward momentum you're gonna create. Where you start getting into problems is when the kick is so abrupt and it's very on-off, black and white. That's when you start making motions that are not giving you forward momentum. This is by far my favorite drill of the entire bunch because there's no hiding, there's no cheating. You just have to put yourself in an uncomfortable position and eventually you'll start making the motions that make speed for you. For this one, you're gonna do 2 times 8 reps each leg. So 1, 2, and so on all the way to 8, switch legs, and then repeat that cycle one more time. One rule that applies to all 3 of these double push drills is that you have to keep your wheels on the ground all the time, meaning you're not allowed to lift your toe up to change the direction of your skate or skates. And unlike the ankle strengthening drills that came in the beginning of the video, these 3 double push drills are something you only want to do 3 times a week tops. Ideally, you're doing them twice a week, but if you get a little bit thirsty and you want to throw one more in, that's okay. Just make sure you're giving yourself a chance to recover and actually growing your ability so you're not plateauing. And if you're wondering how this goes on urban skates or rollerblades, I'm going to throw all the footage of the slow motion of each one of these drills at the end. For me personally, I think it's a lot easier to do them on high cut boots, so rollerblades and urban skates. You're probably not going to be used to making these motions, so it's going to feel awkward at first. But in my opinion, any drill that's easy to do is not really going to give you the desired effect. It has to be challenging on some level. So if you're having a hard time with these, that's probably a good thing. Stick with it. I have no doubt that you're going to be able to develop the skill set that's going to make skating more fun, and you'll be in control of your edges and your skates in no time.
That's going to do it for this episode of Skate Tips. If you found value in this video, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you have recommendations for what you want to see in the future, drop in the comments. If you didn't like this video, let me know why in the comments, and I'll try to make the next video better, and I'll catch you next time.
Mm-hmm.